Hi everyone, it's Victor speaking, and I wanted to do a second part of the Jupiter in Aquarius video because, I felt like we didn't give enough details in the previous one about the Jupiter and Mars opposition, and I also didn't want to make that video too long either. But because, as I said, Jupiter entering the sign of Aquarius, it straight away will be having an opposition with Mars and forming a T-square with Sedna and Ceres. So, and the opposition is something which is the base of the T-square, the issue which we have to kind of resolve if we want to be moving forward. Now, I made a video about the T-square, what it means, and so on. So I recommend checking that video out. And I also recommend listening to part 1 in regards to Jupiter in Aquarius. This video should help you to gain a little bit more knowledge about Jupiter and Mars opposition overall. So I feel like Mars is definitely very strong at the moment because it's in the sign of Leo, which is in modern astrology, it is considered as a exaltation position for Mars. I kind of explained that in the Mars in Leo video, why I don't agree with that fully, but definitely it's a very strong position. Also, the reason why it's strong, because it's own dispositor, Sun is also in the sign of Leo as well. So Mars definitely feels very empowered. Mars, after the opposition formed, it straight away will be entering the sign of Virgo, and then eventually conjuncting Mercury on the 19th. And Mercury is going to be in exaltation. So kind of like this Mars is starting a very new phase. But I'm going to be making a video about Mars in Virgo anyway. So let's just break down this opposition a little bit. So it's going to be happening, or we're going to feel it mostly from the 28th till the 2nd of August. The exact opposition is going to be taking place on the 29th, depending on where you are, by the way. And I would like to point out that none of the planets are good or bad, but he is basically the lesser malefic, and he does things in a more cruel way. So because Mars burns things, it cuts things, cut away things which is unnecessary, but it also motivates us. It kills something within us or around us which we don't need anymore. And yes, it can become a little bit of a domineering energy as well. It severe things, it kind of rashes things up. So, and the human nature is that we are looking for happiness and we are looking for pleasure in our life in the sign of Leo. But Mars kind of achieves anything by dominating others, and it builds kind of a survival instinct. And that's kind of the nature. We do need to think about ourselves first if we want to be helping others. And that's one of the biggest lessons, for instance, water signs need to learn. Mars is all about winning. So Mars knows that in order for him to win, he needs to be less caring towards others. He needs to learn to become pushy and put others aside as well. It knows that the warrior cannot feel sorry for others, or he will get killed at the battlefield within seconds. So imagine Mars, for instance, going to the gym, and he's going to be sweating there, and it's going to be burning calories, and it's going to be running on the treadmill as fast as possible. And but after, it will feel very good about himself. He feels kind of empowered, and he feels that those muscles are pumping in the, in the arm, and the veins are pumping, and it wants to look into the mirror and flexing the body and enjoying the outcome of the hard work. And this is exactly Mars. Mars is something to do with getting out of the bed each morning and something which motivates us. Now, when it comes to Jupiter, who is the greater benefic, it wants all the good things for others. It has got a very strong moral code. It wants to believe. It wants justice. It wants to believe that everyone is good. Everyone has got their values and virtues, and Jupiter rules over gender and sexual orientation. He is very broad-minded, accepting, but liberal at the same time. And probably his motto is that everyone deserves a chance. So Jupiter is kind of like wanting to create this ideological world for himself and for others as well. Therefore, it keeps exploring things till it finds the right spot. So that's why Jupiter travels a lot. Jupiterian people live 6 months here, 6 months there, because they want to find that contentment and confinement in the world, and then they are ready to settle down. So I'm a Jupiterian person. I've got 5 planets in the sign of Sagittarius. And to be frank, I can't really settle down for more than 6 months. I need to be on the road all the time. Jupiter rules over the white collar workers. So, it's like wearing the robe of knowledge, really. So Jupiter is the wisdom. It wants to share. It's a teacher archetype. But it also can represent people in our life who have got some type of wisdom, or they have got something to share with us. So their opposition, on one hand, it's definitely a very good combination. So from a traditional perspective, or even from a modern perspective, fair enough, we've got all these hard aspects, but they're not necessarily hard. They're just pulling into different directions, and therefore we need to find that middle road, and that could take a little bit longer time with the opposition. So Mars is actually, we can say that this aspect is all about going big or going home. So Mars, who is very driven, and Jupiter, who is very optimistic, it talks about the fact that we should be taking a risk. We should trust ourselves, and we might not know how things will work out, but we need to take a leap of faith. And then if it's not there, then we might be regretting this later on. Remember, Mars is on 29 degrees, so it doesn't have anything to lose. It just wants to go on that adventurous ride before it knows it goes into the sign of Virgo. And also, he is sitting on Regulus as well. And Regulus is very much about a king energy, right? So I want to be treated like a royal. So, and Jupiter is a planet which is all about saying yes to something. So this constellation is very much about stretching yourself as much as you can, and that idea might take you very, very far. Of course, it's an opposition, so we do need to be cautious as well. We can say yes to everything, and we won't be able to commit to them. There is no fear involved with this aspect. So you are not scared of anything. And therefore, you might decide that, okay, you know what, I'm on 29 degree of Leo. I'm going to go and then jump out of a plane because I just need that adrenaline. And that's exactly what Jupiter and Jupiter, Mars do together. It increases the adrenaline level. But of course, remember that Jupiter is retrograde. So it might be something you should be revisiting, right? So Mars wants to move forward. It doesn't want to regret something, and Jupiter wants to revisit. So it could be something about an unfinished business, which you started, for instance, when the very last square or opposition happened between Jupiter and Mars. So Mars and Jupiter together is very confident, very enthusiastic. It does not know boundaries. It does not know limits. So it's all about actually stretching yourself, stretching your limits. And the reason why I chose that picture actually in the background, which is, I don't know how much you can see from it, but it's basically truth or dare. So, and I feel like this aspect is very much about, are you going to say the truth or are you going to be daring? So there is this empowering energy with this Jupiter and Mars. So, but also it really gives us an abundance of energy, enthusiasm, and courage to do something. So if you want to be losing weight, for instance, brilliant, go to the gym. I feel like this is one of the most fortunate oppositions of all the aspects. So we can succeed in sports and car race and even political endeavors as well. So at the end of the day, you might want to be getting ready for a political talk, or you want to be ready for a debate. Actually, Mars can become very logical here. Mars is a double-edged sword. So a soldier cannot win without having any strategy. And Aquarius is all about the group efforts. So the soldier, Mars might need to learn, the warrior might need to learn here that I need to be connecting with others if I want to be successful. So it could really raise your competitive nature, and it can actually make you a winner. I feel like with this time around, it can give you plenty of charm as well, or charisma. You can become physically more attractive towards others. Don't forget that Mars is something to do with your libido, right? Your sexual hunger. So you might notice that actually you've got a lot more desire to sleep with someone. And you might become very direct about it as well, right? Because Mars does not sugarcoat. It just gets there, you know, gets the sword out of the thingy, that pocket thing, and then, you know, starts fighting. So you might be experiencing that throughout your sexuality. You can be very brilliant, actually, overpowering others. So don't forget that Jupiter is a teacher archetype. So it's very good for motivation speaking, for instance, but a little bit of a danger. Both planets can become very greedy or like motivated. So we can easily ignore the needs of others. We can become sometimes a little bit of a bully. We can become selfish with this aspect as well. Because, you know, it's very hard for these two planets together to kind of look at their abilities. Yeah, they don't necessarily have a real picture of it. So they can overestimate their abilities. They can actually bite off more than they can chew, like the Frank Sinatra song says, right? And then eventually it could lead to humility or embarrassment as well. Also, none of these two planets are patient enough. So they want everything immediately. And because Jupiter is in the sign of Aquarius, collaboration is going to be very, very important. As I said, I do love this opposition. I mean, plenty of entrepreneurship have got this, or entrepreneurs. So you can have the talent or the confidence to teach or to reach type of like top positions in your career, because work becomes kind of like a competitive field for you. You can be very brilliant when it comes to politics or military or sport activities as well. So this transit could be very good at starting sport. And because Ceres is one of the focal point of this T-square, which could talk about food, you know, it might be talking about, especially if your 6th and 12th houses are triggered by this opposition, it might be a brilliant day to actually start a new health regime, right? If it happens, for instance, in your 2nd and the 8th house axis, watch out, because you can overstretch yourself, or you can overstretch your resources. You don't necessarily know how much to spend, because you become very adventurous. And yeah, okay, you bought that beautiful car. I'm gonna even buy a better one, right? So, and also this aspect, as I said, needs to learn to become a little bit more considerate of other people's needs, and to learn to blend and cooperate with also others, and not looking at things always from a competitive perspective. So Jupiter is all about faith, and Mars is all about speed. So I think I can be driving that car 200 miles an hour. So this opposition makes us very courageous, right? These two might believe that if they do something, it will just play out in the greatest way. It has got plenty of energy. Mars is all about action. Jupiter is all about travel. So of course, with an opposition, travel restrictions can really be in the picture as well. Mars is the planet of aggression, and Jupiter is something to do with abundance. So we can become very agitated that we are restricted in the sense of making money, or we getting frustrated about the fact that the way, I want to have more money, but I can't have it for certain reasons. So Mars can become aggressive here, or actually it can be a very aggressive marketing tool as well to grow. And then we might see that in the world a lot more, right? Or we might want to be going to a competition in a foreign country. Mars competition, Jupiter foreign country. So definitely full of drive and full of faith, but these two can really lead to a forceful action as well, and it really becomes impatient. Also, I think this opposition can actually bring something around iron related industry matters, so batteries and stuff like that. We might see increase in those related stock markets, or we see actually some type of decline there. So Mars is very much of a machoism type of energy. So it becomes very flirtatious with this opposition, and it would not take a no whatsoever. Jupiter and Mars opposition can become a very great promoter. So, Mars on a creative side of it, it's very energetic, it's very passionate. It has got plenty of willpower. The destructive side of Mars is that it's restless, it's rude, it sometimes uses forces and threats with others, and it argues. So it's quite quarrelsome. But the higher manifestation of this is very much about fighting for a cause. So very possible that we're going to see some political debates, political clashes in the world. Oppositions are talking about relationship matters, right? And then I'm fighting for my own moral codes. And I can become overly excited over that. So, for instance, it's brilliant time to do some yoga. Mars is exercise, going to the gym, and Jupiter is a spiritual practice, spiritual growth. So that's exactly what yoga talks about. I would like to mention that Mars, Jupiter, especially conjunctions, but opposition also is a wealth combination, a wealth combo. So, it could be a time to make some money as well. Not many people know, but Jupiter represents the wastage in our life as well. Oh yeah, I just bought 2 kilos of chicken, but I only ate 1 kilo, so the rest goes into the bin. So actually something around waste or fighting about waste and all those type of things could be coming up as well. Jupiter's destructive expression is very much about, yes, wasteful, extremist, it overlooks the details, it's overconfident, overachiever, and it can become sometimes a little bit lazy and hypocritical as well. So Mars either wants to cut that away because it's not necessarily great for us, or actually it might emphasize that a lot more because it speeds Jupiter's destructive expressions way too much. But Jupiter on a positive note is open to grace. It has got the desire to improve, and Mars gives the strength to it. So Jupiter is about, for instance, studying, right? So Mars can give us the willpower to get that grade at school. It gives us that optimism as well. So the reason why I wanted to speak about this opposition, because this is going to be the very first aspect Jupiter is making, entering the sign of Aquarius. So in the world, we might see some of the destructive expressions of these two planets. Yeah, so I hope this video helps to understand this aspect. So if you like the video, press like and ring the notification bell, share the video with others, and all those lovely things so that the channel can go further. Take care, everyone, and have a blessed week. Bye-bye.